tips on gaining muscle. Let's address the elephant in the room, or the not so big elephant. I'm hardly the person to trust when it comes to advice when building muscle, because I'm hardly Michael Phelps or the equivalent. That being said, I do know a bit about it, which I'll happily share. Also, despite us being the most obese population ever live, not every fucker wants to lose weight. So this is for the lanky guys and gals out there who don't think it's possible to gain weight. I was there once. I arguably still am. I used to be able to wrap my finger and thumb around my arm. I used to be able to wrap my 2 hands around my legs. That is not my willy. But I've also been in a surplus the majority of my training life, so I do have some tips. I'm also just ticking a box on content I want to make, so suck it up. Go watch another one of my videos. Another point to make is the fitness industry is massively influenced by how people look, which is kind of backwards. This is why so many people in this industry secretly take steroids, say, look what I can do naturally. When they're just lying to you people. I'm not on steroids, before you ask. They do the same with supplements also. If you didn't know Eddie Hall, who has a world record deadlift at 500 kilos in a professional setting, you wouldn't take nutrition advice from him, would you, looking like this? You would just think he's a fucking boulder of a man. It's like not choosing a doctor because he doesn't have a white jacket and a stethoscope. Or you wouldn't choose a painter that's wearing a tuxedo instead of overalls covered in paint. And to bring it back to the fitness industry, that's like saying you wouldn't take nutrition advice from someone who looks obese. I say looks because many in-shape people wear quadruple X large t-shirts these days, and also many powerlifters, bodybuilders in their off season may look overweight, but outside looking in, people wouldn't take advice from them, would they? But that's the industry I chose to make content in. As I've said, I've been in a surplus the majority of my 12-year lifting career, even if it doesn't look like it. Filling out a 6'6" frame without steroids is quite difficult. I'm not on them again, just in case you didn't know. I find it hard anyway, especially on a frame that had literally zero muscle on it to begin with. Again, I used to be able to wrap my fingers around my arm, and my 2 hands around my leg. Again, that's not my penis. My training could also probably be better, maybe even my nutrition. Maybe I just have shit genetics. Who knows? I'm having fun, that's all that matters. Nutrition first. There's not really many reasons you'd want to gain weight without the goal of gaining muscle, unless you've got a job being an extremely large paperweight, or an anchor for a boat, or if you're playing tug of war. I'm genuinely not sure why you'd want to gain a decent amount of weight without the target of muscle, unless you're already underweight and need to put on more size, or you're maybe a sumo wrestler or a rugby player. Ironically as well, the heavier you get and the more you eat, you're likely going to build more muscle anyway, because you'll need it to carry around an overall heavier frame. Have you seen the size of the calves on obese people? They're absolutely incredible. Obese people likely have a decent amount of muscle underneath them because they have to carry around their size all day. But gaining size or muscle has always had this caveat that you must be in a calorie surplus, which isn't entirely true. You can arguably build a little bit of muscle in a deficit, but you could also build a decent size at maintenance level. Nobody actually knows why we must be in a surplus to gain muscle. In my opinion though, it does seem to be a good idea to be in a surplus though. Even just a slight one to aid recovery, as you should be pushing your body's boundaries. That being said, some people may still struggle to put away enough food to even hit their maintenance calories. As always, keep food simple. The harder it is, the more likely you're not going to follow it. Eat dense caloric foods that can help you put away calories without much effort. Ideally single ingredients. Things like oats, porridge, oatmeal, whey shakes, smoothies, bananas and peanut butter, dark chocolate, nuts, dried fruit, whole milk, milkshakes, granola, eggs, fatty meats. There's me rattled off around about 10 healthy things that should help you get you started. Some of those are also liquid form. Just because you may be eating a surplus doesn't mean you eat like a dick. If you're looking to follow a flexible diet approach, you still should abide by the 80-20 rule. If you don't know what that is, go watch my other videos that I made on it. How much of a surplus do you need to be in? We'll do a video on this later. It really depends on your training age, but I'd increase your calories by about 5% of your maintenance, maybe 10% at a push. Then I'd just monitor how you look and feel. It's hard to give you an ideal rate of weight gain because you'd have to be so strict with eating and monitoring, it might not be enjoyable. That kind of monitoring will likely be left to elite athletes. But when gaining weight and aiming to build muscle, gaining weight incredibly fast has never really had any benefit. The slower you gain weight, you hopefully increase the chances of that weight also being muscle. Gaining weight quickly will likely result in just simple fat gain, which nobody wants. You do want to aim for a diet full of quality ingredients. You probably can build a decent amount of muscle with a subpar diet, but why go to all this trouble and effort and eat like shit? A quality diet is likely going to give you more energy and help you recover more from the hard gym sessions. So on top of nutrition, what else do you need? To touch on training briefly, which I've never done before, muscle hypertrophy is important, or hypertrophy, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty obvious that in order to gain something new, i.e. new muscle, you have to do something new. In the gym, that likely means lifting more weight than you ever have, which is called muscle hypertrophy or hypertrophy, whatever you want to call it. That means increasing sets, reps, quality of reps, faster times, etc. There are many ways of progressing lifts and numbers. In the gym, for most people, I'd focus on the big movers such as hip thrusts, deadlifts, squats, bench presses, leg presses, pull-ups, dips, compound exercising, providing there's no issue with you carrying them out. If there is, you can easily find an equivalent. You want to progress as much as you can recover from. if that makes sense. We won't get into training splits here, but most people likely benefit from a full body workout or an upper lower workout. You also want to log your lifts. People who go to the gym without a log really fucking irritate me. Like, why do something like exercising without the sole focus of getting better? So working in conjunction with muscle hypertrophy or hypertrophy is spiking muscle protein synthesis with regular quality protein servings, including leucine. Eat anything above 1.6 grams per kilogram of protein per day. Split this evenly throughout your day. Maybe split this between 3 to 6 meals. I personally eat a little bit more, but it just helps me keep fuller. Things like meat, yogurt, milk, whey protein, cheese, etc. All good sources of protein. Also, you want to recover well. If you've not recovered, you'll likely struggle to progress in the gym. Try prioritising sleep and quality of diet to recover as much as possible. I'll shoehorn in a couple here as well. To get the most out of your training, prioritise foods around your training window to maximise effort in the gym. Also, hydration. It's an easy one to stay on top of. Slight dehydration can hamper your lifts. I've said before, people want to build muscle but hate the gym, likely want to do all of the above to build muscle as much as possible, as quickly as possible, to give you the best possible chance of building muscle. Get it over and done with, you know? Who knows, you might be one of those lucky fuckers that just look at weights and they just grow. I personally think you need to have both training and nutrition on point if you want to gain muscle. Doing one without the other, in my opinion, is just completely pointless. It's like throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks. Why not stack all the chips in your favour? I'll touch briefly on the social side of gaining weight. Typically people will bulk in the winter to stay warmer and then cut in the summer to show for progress. I remember I went to Cavos and I think I was 114 kilos. I'm now around about 80, so you can imagine how I looked. I wasn't out there to be shagging anybody. Not that I had much chance at 114 kilos. I unfortunately don't have any photos. Anyway, it kind of makes sense that you're bigger in the winter months to stay warm and leaner in the warmer months, but that's up to you. Trying to gain weight should allow you to be a bit more social and eat out more, whilst also choosing more decadent choices on the menu or cooking more decadent meals. There's pros and cons to both sides of gaining and losing weight, so you should exploit them both, especially when gaining arguably has more benefits. So enjoy it. The main thing to point out is if you're lifting heavier over time in the gym, there's a good chance you're building muscle, especially if you're doing everything above. And that's all you really can go by, just chance, unless you're willing to spend money on DEXA scans and things like that, which obviously have their own issues. There's also been studies looking at muscle gain, and it's been proven to cap at around, I think it may be the 5-year mark. If you've trained intensely for that duration, after that, growth is absolutely minimal. That's why people jump on steroids. But on top of that, gaining muscle is a slow and long process, which is why it's a good idea to try and enjoy the journey and enjoy the benefits it provides rather than the end result. Most people want to look like fucking Chris Evans out of Captain America when he pops out that pod because of how skewed Instagram has our expectations. But we're all built very differently with different potentials. Enjoying the journey has much more benefits. So here's a quick summary on building muscle. To give yourself the best possible chance of building muscle, find your maintenance calories and put yourself in a small surplus. Prioritise quality protein and ideally a minimum of 1.6 grams per kilogram of protein. Here's some quick targets for you. A quicker way to work this out as well is eat your height in centimetres. So if you're 160 centimetres for example, eat 160 grams of protein. People who are massively overweight will need to adjust their targets accordingly. If you're 150 kilos for example, it's unlikely that you're going to need 240 grams of protein. What I've given is just a quick guide. Prioritise recovery. You'll hopefully be pushing your body to build new muscle, which means you'll need good sleep and ideally a diet full of quality ingredients. Quality of diet. Keep the quality as high as possible. Log your lists so you know that you're progressing every week. Building muscle is slow and boring for some. Try and make it enjoyable in any way that you can. Do this by training with mates, training in conjunction of another hobby that then training complements. Building muscle is up to chance, so you're better putting as much things in your favour in my opinion. You'll hopefully be able to see progress in your physique yourself. All else fails, go on steroids because every other fucker is on them. If you're trying to gain weight, you'll likely then be cutting weight at some point, which means you may have to remove some of these enjoyable foods, so enjoy them while you can. That is us done. See you in the next video.